In this video, I will show you how to do symbolizations in the Propositional Logic software. So you'll go to the tab that says Symbolizations. That's fairly obvious. And in this video, I'm just going to focus on how to symbolize a sentence, a statement in the text. So I'm going to be focusing on exercise 1 in different chapters. So you navigate to the chapter that you want to do. So let's say I want to do an exercise from chapter 4. So I'm on chapter 4, which is on page 51. So you click on this drop-down menu. Sorry, I'm using my daughter's computer and I'm not very familiar with it, so it's a little awkward. Okay, and then you go to the exercise that you want to do. So let's start with 1A. Okay, so then you enter your symbolization. So 1A says, the Heat makes it to the playoffs only if the Hawks lose to the Cavs. So we have here a conditional with two simple statements. The Heat makes it to the playoffs. So we're going to capitalize that with an M, capital M. And the software won't actually let you do lowercase letters. So you don't need to do caps lock or anything. You just type in an M. So M only if the Hawks lose to the Cavs. And we do an L for the statement, the Hawks lose to the Cavs. So only if is just an arrow. So we can either click on this button to get an arrow. I'm not that good at clicking on my daughter's computer. Sorry. So I clicked it, I got the arrow. Backspace if I want to erase it. I can also do the function keys. So F8. The function keys don't seem to work on my daughter's computer. I pressed F8 and nothing happened. So I will do that. It also seems like you could do a keyboard shortcut. I don't know how well that works, but we could try that. So there I did Shift and the greater than sign. So actually what we use for our keyboard shortcut on Blackboard. So that might be the easiest way to do it, honestly. And then L. And so you see, before I put the L on, okay, when I just had the M, let's talk about the different feedback you get. So when I just have an M, that's a well-formed formula, but it's not the correct translation of this exercise. So the answer is wrong. Once I add in the arrow, now it says, you can see this circle with a line through it, that says it's not a well-formed formula. Because it's not. If you just have an M and an arrow and nothing after it, it's not a well-formed formula. So then when I add the L, now I get a green check mark. Now, suppose I had done this incorrectly and thought that the correct answer was actually L arrow M. So now you see, again, I get the red X. Now I can click the hint and it will give me a hint. It's, in this case, it's not a very helpful I don't find this particular feedback very helpful. It says, this assignment of truth values makes your symbolization true and the sentence false. M true, L false. This assignment of truth values makes your symbolization false and the sentence true. L true, M false. Okay, that's not really helpful. But if you see that, 9 times out of 10, it means you've got the letters in the wrong order like I do. So we really want it to be M arrow L. Now, suppose I had messed up some other way. So suppose instead of doing an arrow, suppose I misread the only if as if and only if. So if I put a double arrow in, again, it will say I'm wrong. Now, if I go to the hint, it again, the feedback is not very helpful, but there is something that is helpful to me, which is it shows me the format that the sentence should take. So it shows me that I should have an arrow and not a double arrow in my formula. So that's a good hint. Now, suppose I had done this instead. So suppose I had done not M, wedge L. So this is logically equivalent to the correct answer, to M arrow L. Those turn out to be logically equivalent. So now if I click the hint, it'll tell me that actually. It says, your symbolization is logically equivalent to the one I recognize as correct, but yours does not track the sentence well. So in this case, I think Pospesel is right. Not M, wedge L does not track the sentence as well as M arrow L. But that could be a matter of opinion. And at the end of the day, I don't really care. As long as you have something that's logically equivalent, then it's fine. So if you get an error message like this, you can feel free to put it in as your answer on Blackboard. However, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to agree with Pospesel. And so what I have in is the answer key is probably going to be, like for this particular question, is going to be M arrow L. And so if you want to get that little green check mark on Blackboard right away, you probably should try to get one that agrees with Pospesel's translation and is not just logically equivalent to it. So, all right, so let's do the correct translation again, because I want to show you something else. So now suppose I want to go on to another example. So suppose I want to do 1G. All right, so 1G says, the commanding officer only offers me a root beer when there's a dangerous mission to be flown. So this again is an only if, but it's kind of a disguised only if. Because it doesn't have the if, it just has the only, but it's saying the commanding officer offers me a root beer only if there's a dangerous mission to be shown. So again, this is going to be R for the commanding officer offers me a root beer. Arrow, only if there's a dangerous mission to be shown. So that's symbolized with a D. Okay, so if I want to do that, cool. Now suppose I want to do 1H right after that. Well, I can click this next button. If I can click it. And now you see I'm on 1H. So let's do 1H too. So if he really is determined not to run, and if he wants to see the nomination go to someone who shares his viewpoint, then he should announce now that he is not a candidate. Okay, so I'm going to do, so we've got if D and if V, right? If he wants to see the nomination go to someone who shares his viewpoint. So there's a couple different ways that could go, I think. The way that seems most natural to me is, how do I do, aha. I'm going to need punctuation. So I think that the antecedent should be D and V. D, and so ampersand is the ampersand character. D and V, close parenthesis, whoops, arrow, and then A for he should announce that he is not a candidate. Okay, so now Pospesel's actually done, I wondered what he would do here. So he's done something that I don't really approve of. And it kind of violates his general conventions. So this is just not about the video, but it's just about his symbolization. So the consequent is he should announce now that he is not a candidate. So one of Pospesel's conventions is that capital letters always stand for unnegated sentences. So really A should stand for he should announce now that he is a candidate. Well, no, I think I take it back. In this case, because of where the not is placed, you can't just, right, to say that he should not announce now that he is a candidate is a different statement than he should announce now that he is not a candidate. But I think I would have put in parentheses, I would have made it explicit. A equals, he should announce now that he is not a candidate. So I would have made it explicit that negation should not be expressed. So that's just kind of an aside that I just came across here. So that's how you do basically the symbolizations. You go to the chapter that you need. So say we want to do chapter 4, then you go to the book exercise that you need. So say we wanted to do 1H from the book in chapter 7, and you'd put your symbolization there, and it would tell you whether you're right or not. You can also, as I said, do practice problems. So if you pick one of these, number 21, the sentence is either somebody tampered with a whole lot of that blood evidence or Simpson committed the murders. So this is going to be T, wedge, C. If I want to do the next one, if I click next, it will give me number 22 in the practice problems. So you can do these if you want, and if you find them helpful, and you very well may, because these practice problems could show up in some learning module or in some timed assessment. So it might be worth your while to do some of these practice problems, and more practice is never a bad idea. So that's how you do the symbolizations. In the next video, I will explain how to do truth tables in this software.